This and each and every episode of the HKT Podcast is once again supported by 35 Bikes. 35 Bikes are dedicated to bringing you the best bike components for the best price. So, if you're in the market for some new brake pads, maybe some brake rotors too to go with your brake pads, a narrow wide chainring or mud guards, you can head to 35bikes.com, that's 35bikes.com, and use promo code PODCAST to get 10% off every order, and you'll also get free shipping. This episode is also supported by Sax Underwear. And guys, if you've ever had that dream of having an angel follow you around throughout your day-to-day business with her hand gently cupping your nutsack all day, then that dream is actually now a reality. All you have to do is pick up a pair of Sax Underwear, and every pair of Sax Underwear comes with their patented ballpark pouch. And the ballpark pouch is exactly that. It's an angel's hand cupping your nutsack all day. What's better than that? Just head to saxunderwear.com for more information, or you can head to your local bike shop, ask for them, or just search Sax online. Get a pair, it'll change your life, and that angel will become your best friend. Alright, enough of that. Let's get on with this podcast.
Danny Hart here, and you're listening to the HKT Podcast.
What's going on, podcast fans, and welcome back to another episode of the HKT Podcast, episode number 29, edging closer to that episode number 30. A few people are already wanting to know who the guest is going to be, but we got to keep that one under wraps for a little while. All I can say is it's someone that you guys have been wanting to have on the show for ages, and I'm super excited to do it. It's going to be, hopefully it'll be a good episode. You never know, but hopefully it will be. But for now, thank you to everyone for sticking by this podcast. Thank you for everyone who keeps listening, engaging. Thank you again for all the iTunes reviews. God, the feedback, everything. It's overwhelming and it's much appreciated. And I guess if you're a new listener, then welcome. It's great to have you on board. Yeah, make sure you come over, check us out on social media. It's at the HKT Podcast on all those channels. And hopefully you're going to listen in to a few more of these episodes. There's a back catalogue now of 29 episodes for you to also check out. So do that. Better do that. But for now, we've got Drew Roday on the show. Now, I connected with Drew due to doing him some custom mudguards a little while back. And I love what he's doing. TheLoneWolf.com is a new mountain bike website, digital platform. The look of it's sick. Like, it's really cool what he's doing. It's totally fresh, I think, to the industry. So, yeah, I just wanted to get him on the podcast, have a chat, find out more about Drew, which was pretty cool because I knew nothing about him at all going into this, which you'll probably be able to guess from the episode. But it was a whole bunch of fun all the same, and it's great to hear people's stories. So, without further ado, let's welcome Drew Roday to the show. Let's do this. All right, folks, here we are, episode number 29, and on today's show we have Mr. Drew, is it Rode?
Roadie,
Drew Roday,
yeah.
A.K.A. The Lone Wolf. So, Drew, welcome to the HKT Podcast. Obviously, much appreciated, and it's great to have you on this thing.
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much for the chance to come on board and chat for a bit.
Hey, no problem at all, man. I love sitting and chatting to people. It's what we do.
Yeah, right on.
So we connected a little while back, I guess, just to give people the backstory as to how you have ended up doing this podcast, because it's always good to hear. We connected. We did do some of our custom mudguards, which we obviously sent over to the States for you. And then we exchanged a few emails and decided it'd be a good idea to do a podcast, get to know each other a little bit better along the way, and throw it out to the world.
That's that, man. Yeah.
Pretty accurate, would you say?
I'd say, yeah, pretty close. Cool. You know, thank God for social media, right? And here we are.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy sometimes how things work out, and like you just randomly get connected with people, and here we are, just throwing down a podcast. So it's going to be pretty cool. Like we were just saying before we started recording, like not every guest, but most guests I've had on this before, we're up to episode 29, started this thing off with predominantly just friends of mine or friends of friends, not really expecting the podcast to grow as much as it has. So most people we had on, or I had on, I sort of knew about them before we started doing it, or, like I was just saying to you, they're sort of like easier people to research. But I'm really looking forward to this because I really don't know much about you or a great deal about the Lone Wolf. So it's going to be cool to hear about you, about Lone Wolf, the future, where you came from, and all that sort of fancy stuff.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get all that out there and not bore people too much.
We can't promise to not bore people. We'll try our best. So the best thing to do, I think, is kick this thing off like I usually like to, which is to hand over to you just to give yourself a really brief introduction as to who you are and ultimately what you do, and then we'll probably rewind that a little bit if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Dope.
All right. Well, let's see here, kind of in a transition period of mentally still thinking I'm a young kid and, obligation wise, finding myself in the adult world, which is a bit of a bummer.
Aren't we all?
and slightly terrifying at the same time. Yeah, man, I pretty much, my love for riding bikes and being outside started as a young kid. As soon as I was able to hop on something with two wheels and handlebars, before I can even remember, my parents told me I was on a little electric motorcycle thing, and I could ride that thing through the house better than I could walk. And as soon as the batteries died, I'd start crying until it recharged, and it kind of took off from there. So I came home from school, was building jumps, riding trails, having little races with myself until the sun went down. And yeah, by the time I was a teenager, I got into downhill racing. I grew up just outside of Los Angeles in a suburb called Thousand Oaks, which was a beautiful area that had a whole lot of trails. Snow Summit at the time was still doing a lot of racing.
Yep.
So, the Amateur Cup Bud Light Series was kind of the big place where I first started downhilling. And I remember one of my first races was at Snow Summit, same weekend as a World Cup was there. And I was a 15 and a half year old kid, and Pete was racing for Steve Pete was on GT. Sean Palmer was there with like this Troy Lee flame painted motorhome. And
no way.
I mean, that was, when I saw that and stood in line to get autographs by those people, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is the coolest thing ever. And, 17 years later, I still am just as excited about riding bikes and being outside exploring and digging jumps,
Sweet. So I'm going to guess that we're around similar age. I just turned 30 years old.
I'm 34.
Okay.
Just turned 34 in December. Yeah.
Okay.
So
similar. But it's pretty cool that you just spoke about Thousand Oaks. I actually went there a little while ago. I'm not going to bore people too much with this because there's a running joke. I don't know if you've listened to any of these episodes that I always speak about motocross because I'm from a moto background and etc. But I once went to Thousand Oaks Amateur National. I'm pretty sure it was Thousand Oaks, right? Yeah, just outside LA. I'm sure it was Thousand Oaks. There's a motocross track up there, I'm sure.
Boy, there's a pretty big moto scene around. They used to have stuff back in the 70s, but actually in Thousand Oaks proper, I don't believe there's a moto track.
Maybe I'm mistaken. Or maybe there was a dealership there, Thousand Oaks Kawasaki, something like that.
There is, TO Power Sports, I believe, was the dealership there.
Okay, yeah. I as soon as you said it, I was like, my brain had a bit of a kick.
Yeah, there's
like,
pretty nearby is a track called Piru, and like the Piru motocross track, which is in like Fillmore, just outside of Simi Valley, and they've got a lot of racing.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'm thinking of that. Yeah, I spent a little bit of time in California when I was a little younger, racing moto and basically just living there and doing that stuff, which is pretty cool. And obviously, I miss the place every single day. It was only just because of visa problems that I had to come home, I think. So if it wasn't for that, I'd probably still be living out there. Yeah, definitely got a special place in my heart for California and America in general. I love the place. Absolutely love the place. So maybe one day we're going to head back, but we'll see.
Well, I won't be there, man. I ran away. I'm up in Oregon now.
Yeah, you're Oregon, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I relocated to Bend about 3 years ago now.
Okay, sweet. How's Bend? What's just out of interest, what's the riding scene like in Bend? I guess you're Bend, Oregon, so you're sort of in between California and Canada, almost, pretty much in the middle.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we've got California to the south, Washington up north, and then into Canada. So I'm a day's drive to Whistler, which was an awesome step up from California. But the riding scene in Bend is incredible. There are so many people here who ride bikes. There's a ton of trails.
Right.
Sadly, they're not the most advanced or challenging, I guess you could say. And it's a lot more kind of like groomer, bike parky flow trails. But there's a lot of change, it sounds like, in the future with a new board of directors on the local kind of mountain bike organization. Right. Kurt Voorhees, Carson Storch, Cam McCall, Kyle Jamison, all those guys live here in Bend and more, and right. It's like with guys like that here locally, the scene's just going to get stronger and elevate, I think. So, I'm pretty excited.
Are those guys kind of part of the riding crew for you as well, or?
Traditionally we've been all traveling so much at different times that it's like, I'd see Cam McCall out riding more in like BC or, some random place than we would actually get to ride together here in Bend. I saw Carson and Kurt Voorhees yesterday at a little bicycle garage sale swap meet that we have a couple times a year. But
I saw that on your Instagram. That's kind of what made me think whether Kurt lives local or, okay, what's that? Just out of interest. So bicycle swap meet, it looked like it was a garage sale.
Yeah, pretty much, man. It's like one of our buddies, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, there's all these guys kind of collect parts over the year. And, same thing with me when, at my previous job, we'd get a lot of test products, and a lot of it I would donate to like the little local kids mountain bike camp. But, occasionally there's stuff that all these pro guys have and they sell them at the end of the season or whatever. So we just kind of use it as an excuse to get together, have some donuts or barbecue and just hang out. And, guys get to come. They're stoked to meet some of the pros that they look up to locally and, maybe buy a jacket or a helmet that he used or an old set of tires for $5,
Yeah, that's right. That's really cool. We do something pretty similar here in Sheffield. Not sure if you know, but Sheffield's where Steve Pete lives too. So we have...
Sheffield Steel, right?
Yeah, Sheffield Steel. You got it, man. We have... Petey's Bike Bonanza, which happens at like a local swimming centre. It's a bit of a strange setup, but they hire like an event hall, and then all the local shops get together, and then they just basically get rid of old stock or sometimes new stock or used stuff and whatnot. It's a pretty cool event though. It sounds quite similar. It's in the winter, so it's always raining and cold, so it's indoors. But yeah, there's some beers flowing, and it's a good time. It's cool.
Right on.
Yeah. All right. So let's rewind a little bit. You said you had a bit of a race career too. So how did you go with that, or did you not?
I wouldn't call it a career.
Okay.
I did race off and on would be a good way to describe it. I don't know if it's that I'm really not very competitive or that I'm overly competitive, and I still haven't figured it out. But, I've never really liked training or working hard. I guess it like at fitness to sprint, and in Southern California, there wasn't a ton of downhill races that were, what I consider steep downhill races. There was Fontana as a prime example. Like I just couldn't bring myself to sprint along that wall. And so in order to be competitive, you had to be really fit and not even race a downhill bike most of the time. And that just kind of wasn't where I was at. You spend all this money, you drive hours all over the place for one run or two runs. And I kind of got burnt out. And, I worked at a bike shop. I remember when I first kind of went back to downhilling, and I we used my employee discount and bought a Trek Session 88, the first one when they came out. And I went out to my local, downhill trail, which was Suicide. And I put down a run that I was like, holy crap, man, I feel so fast on this bike. Like, I can't believe it, Yeah. And I think there was a California, whatever it was, state championship race in Mammoth. And then I went a couple weekends later up to that race and just wanted to see how I would do. And, I ended up winning, which was rad. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, sweet, I like racing again, And then I raced for a minute and same thing, kind of got burnt out. And I don't know. I just had fun riding with my buddies. We had a really good riding scene going on at the time in like Simi Valley. We would shuttle this place G-Spot and Woolsey Canyon, which are, have kind of gotten a little bit of their own fame as guys like Elliott Jackson and McKay and some of those have ridden in film segments out there recently. So it's cool to see trails that we helped dig and build when I was just the teenager kid helping all these old salty guys, be blown up now. It's kind of neat in some ways.
That is cool. I can kind of resonate with that though a little bit. Like I've flitted in between racing and just riding for fun pretty much all my life. And again, I think when it comes to training, I fully burnt out on that when I was younger. That's all I did was train and ride. Yeah, it was riding moto, but it's pretty much all I did for 10 years. To just train, ride, like sleep a little bit. And now, I've done the odd downhill race and stuff, and I think that the skills from riding moto, they transfer pretty good. So, I feel this, I don't want to sound big-headed here, but like I was never going to do too badly at it, but I didn't want to get too strung out on doing well on it, if that makes sense. Like I didn't want to think, okay, now I'm going to be a world champion at all. But a few good results, but nothing to write home about. And again, just sort of burning out on that whole racing thing a little bit. I'd rather go out and just ride bikes with my friends rather than, be thinking about putting down fast laps or runs or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool that, Bryceland has done that recently. He's moved over from racing to just riding a bike and having fun with his friends. And I think that's pretty cool. I know not everyone's going to have the same view on that, but I think it's rad. And I think like what he's doing with like the 50-1 crew and stuff is quite admirable. Like it's pretty cool that he's walked away from the money and, well, I don't know about the money, but like, the money and the, not necessarily the fame either, but he's just walked away from quite a lot of stuff, which is probably, that's all he ever wanted when he was a kid,
Yep. It's rad to me, man. Like, I know on our page, I feel like I'm constantly posting 50-1 stuff because those dudes are, they're a huge inspiration exactly to what, I wanted to start when I created the Lone Wolf and, that mentality and the Fest series guys and, just embracing, like just having fun with your boys, or for the girls, having fun with your ladies, whatever, just getting out with friends in the woods or out in the desert and riding bikes, sessioning stuff, not caring about Strava or fitness or,
totally.
Sprint intervals. It's just like, hey, how much fun can we have on this one stupid turn or this one weird log? Like, let's hit it as many times as we can and just get weird. And that's why their videos are so fun to watch, because you can tell they're just genuinely having a good time.
I agree totally. I love that stuff. I think what they've done is amazing. And you're always psyched to watch one of those videos when they come out. Like I am anyway, I kind of know those guys too. And there's a few of the guys that ride within that 50-1 crew that are good friends of mine. But even so, you're still like pumped to watch the videos, see what they've been doing, see where they're riding. It's always relatively local to here as well, which is cool. But it's cool. I think that whole movement is only going to grow as well.
I hope so, man. And that, like, the bigger slice of British pie?
Yeah.
Dude, that video to me was like, and I don't know if it's maybe because we're older, right? Part of me feels like this is what mountain biking is missing. And that again, that's like that sort of stuff was what inspired me in the Lone Wolf. Like, we need some edginess. We need some rawness back. Like, not everything has to be so refined and polished, and, you know, it doesn't have to have a red camera and slow-mo and just boring music all the time. Like, to me, I watched that video, and don't get me wrong, like, you know, I love watching The Collective and like those like movies. When I was young, I was watching Rome and Seasons, and I loved it. But like, I feel like we've gone too far maybe. And now when you're watching stuff with like these cheap fisheye lenses and just some punk rock music and, you know, like super low budget, it's like, it's just I don't know, man. Maybe it's just more attainable, or it's more like closer to identify with. Like, if I went out in the woods and rode with my buddies, this is what it would be like, you know?
Yeah, totally. No, I feel you, man, for sure. I'm a big fan of that stuff, and it's like social media and stuff seems to be making it way more possible to do that as well. You know, you're gonna it doesn't matter about getting in magazines anymore. It's about throwing it up on YouTube and promoting it a little bit and just letting the thing organically grow. And I think that's super cool as well. It's only a good thing, I think, for the sport.
Yeah, man. I hope so.
Yeah. All right. So I want to rewind a little bit to figure out how you ended up starting the Lone Wolf. So I guess, God, where can we start? I mean, how did you initially get involved in the bike industry?
Well, the bike industry, I guess that kind of started when I got my first job at a bike shop, maybe. I mean, if that's
it's one of those I didn't choose the bike industry chose me kind of situation.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's kind of the typical starting point, right? Like, I got a job in a bike shop at 15 and kind of bounced around doing that. I did leave a little while at sort of towards the end of my college education. I started working for the studios in Hollywood, and
right. Wow.
I was building sets. A buddy of mine got me involved with that, and you know, I worked for a couple of years building sets for commercials and music videos mostly, and it was great, man. I was single, I had a van, and I'd make a bunch of money. And then I'd be off, you know, like we'd work anywhere from 5 to 20 days straight. And I'd have a couple grand in my pocket, and I would just hit the road, and I didn't have, you know, many concerns or cares in life other than when I was going to be back to work. And I ended up going to Argentina for several months and was living on a ranch down there, helping build some trails and a little, you know, bike park kind of thing with a buddy of mine. And when I came back, the studios were on strike, and there was no work. And you know, obviously I needed some money, so I went back to work at a bike shop and ended up meeting a guy who worked for Niner.
Okay.
And that was basically my first transition out of the bike shop and into the industry. And I went to work for Niner for, about 8 months. And I guess throughout that whole time, I met Scott Hart, who was the editor for Decline magazine at the time.
All right. Wow. Okay.
And he ended up living pretty close to a bike shop that I worked at, and we ended up riding a lot of the local trails. So I was always, you know, looking up to him. He was like just super rad dude, tons of energy. And obviously as a kid, right, he had the dream job. Like, he's riding and testing bikes and going all over. And I was always like, hey man, let me know if you need help. Let me know if you need help, whatever. And about 6 months into my position at Niner, we reconnected, and he gave me the opportunity to do the BC bike race and write a story about my experience doing that trip. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of wrote a blog for Decline magazine and shared the story and did that race. And I guess through that experience, they were kind of like, oh man, you're not totally incompetent, and you know, you're halfway decent at riding a bicycle. So like, let's have you start doing a little more for us. And I kind of started testing product here and there, and not too many months after that, Scott and Decline parted ways. Right. And Mark Jordan, who was the assistant editor, had kind of gotten to know me, and he, you know, needed to fill a spot. So they said, hey, we need to fill somebody. Like, do you want to come work for us full time? And I obviously jumped at the opportunity, because I'd, you know, been reading and looking up to the Decline magazine stuff for years at this point. And that put me into Decline magazine.
So before that though, like no real media experience or nothing.
No, none.
Cool. That's the best way though. Like it's by far the best way sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure real journalists out there and English literary majors can tell that without me having to say it. But yeah, man, I in retrospect, I wish I would have done some sort of education and learning, but at the same time, I guess maybe it brings a little bit of a fresh or different perspective too. And yeah, I just kind of jumped in and figured it out on the fly.
Okay. And what sort of year was that?
God, it probably would have been around 2010, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe 9. I was at Decline magazine for about 6 years, I believe.
Right. Wow. Okay. So you were at Decline all the way from 2010 up to, a little over a year or so ago.
Until February of this year.
Oh, okay. And excuse my ignorance, but is Decline magazine still going? Like, is it?
No, it is not.
I thought so. I just wanted to check that because I was sure it had stopped, but I'm like, oh, is it or is it not? I can't remember.
Yeah, no. I know across the pond there, it's. There's a lot of fans, but a lot of people were a little bit disconnected, and it's hard to find or stay in the loop. But basically we. The whole staff kind of got a cruel surprise, I guess, one morning when we got, phone calls or called into the office, and the publisher just kind of, point blank said, "Hey, I'm closing the doors, take your stuff." And
so is it owned by like a big publishing company as well?
It was not actually. It was family owned, and it was a pretty small grassroots kind of operation, but I guess things weren't as good as we were led to believe, apparently. And we kind of just were all in a big surprise.
Sounds like it. And how many, just out of interest again, like how many staff were there day to day working on Decline?
There's about 7.
Okay. So it's a decent size operation, really.
That was for Decline and Road magazine, which was our other publication.
Right. Okay. And that ceased as well?
Correct. Yeah, both. Wow. Everything, whole office just shut down.
Wow, crazy. It's similar kind of story, I guess, to Dirt magazine. I had Steve Jones from Dirt magazine on the last episode. I don't think he could really go into too much detail as to why that thing wrapped up, but obviously Dirt magazine has carried on to be a digital platform, obviously with a slice of British pie and the biggest slice of British pie, and also having a killer website. But Decline just totally, just done.
Yep. Huh. That was it, man. And I had. I guess without getting too into it, I kind of had hopes that perhaps the owners might let me try to take over the name or carry on the tradition and legacy that, I felt it had. But, we kind of just went radio silent. And, after a little bit of time, I decided, it'd be worth a shot to give my own thing a whirl. And, that's kind of where I'm at now.
So here we are. We're here. We're at the Lone Wolf segment.
Yeah.
So rad, dude. I mean, the look of the website is amazing. I've obviously been checking out a little bit more recently. After doing you those mud guards and stuff and keeping an eye on it. But the look of the website is amazing. Social media is pumping by the looks of things as well. So what? Obviously, the demise of Decline. God. That's clever. The demise of Decline really led you into doing this, but is there like a really good space for it as well, do you feel? I mean, I don't really want to... Obviously, you think there is, but there's a lot of digital content out there. There is, though, right? I mean, it's no secret that there's a lot of digital content out there, but what made
100%.
What made you think that
there's a ton, man.
This is the one for you? Like, what really made you want to go ahead and do this? Was it just not wanting to leave the industry? Is there a lack of jobs as well, maybe in that sort of space?
Well, I'd say there's probably a multi-part answer here.
Okay.
And I'll try to put it together concisely.
You don't have to. You can just fanny around a little bit. It's fine. We've got plenty of time.
I'd say about 2 months before Decline magazine shut down, Doonies came out. Doonies 3, I believe it was, right? I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dirt Shark and the Doonies stuff.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Dude, I'm
awesome.
full moto sometimes, so anything like that, I'm all over it.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they don't get upset because I ripped them off a little bit. But when I watched Doonies, I was so amped on that video, right? Like, I mean, just they had some heavy metal music. They had fireballs, like shit's just jumping all over the place. Like it reminded me of like New World Disorder days and like Frusty Demons of Dirt and just shit's going wild. And I was watching that video and I thought to myself, mountain biking's gotten soft, man. We need a mountain biking Dirt Shark. Like what could be a mountain bike Dirt Shark? And that was when the name Lone Wolf popped into my head.
Which is a rad name, by the way.
Thank you, man. I'm pretty stoked on it. Actually,
good.
I couldn't believe it wasn't taken, man. I started Google searching and I couldn't believe it wasn't patented or used or whatever. So I jumped on that, and I have slowly been, doing the whole LLC and copyright, like just all sorts of stuff I've got zero experience doing. And I started learning, and I made shirts and stickers and all this stuff. And my goal was to sort of moonlight on the side of Decline Magazine. I wanted to create a lifestyle brand and start developing like jerseys and riding gear for guys that, didn't want to wear neon enduro pajama kits all the time. Right. Like I just wanted to make riding gear that cool dudes would want to wear and be stoked on, that looked neat. And people outside the bike industry were like, that dude looks rad. I don't want to look like a highlighter every time I'm riding, right? And you talk to a lot of BMXers and moto, like even moto guys wear some neon shit.
Yeah, Neo became fashionable recently.
Yeah, man. Like the BMXers, the skaters, kind of like that whole world of like free ride mountain bikers and everything. It's like, if I could tap into those guys and create a little bit of a counterculture, that was my goal. And when Decline shut down, I was lost, to be honest. I mean, it was more than a job and a paycheck, right? Obviously, like, paying bills is important, but, I mean, it was a dream job and it was a bummer. Like, I was really bummed that, it came to an end, and I was torn between, like, I felt like I was drowning in the ocean, and like, there's all these other ships around, right? And I could either jump aboard someone else's ship and start rowing their paddle, or I could try to build my own ship out of the debris. And
nice.
I started to do that. I did some soul searching and kind of realized, every successful businessman or entrepreneur or whoever has said there's been a pivotal moment in their life, right, where they could make a decision to chase a dream or do something for themselves or not. And usually those people followed that moment. And I said, well, if I fail, I know I failed, but if I don't try, then I'll never know. And, I didn't really put a lot of effort into looking for another job or contacting people. And it was a little scary to do that because, like, a big part of your survival instinct is like, holy shit, find a job. You need to make money as quick as you can. What are you going to do? Yeah. And another big part of me was like, I believe in this, and I believe I've got enough connections to where I could, still create cool content, and the content that's out there, and I'm not trying to badmouth anything like or anything like that, is not the content I want to create. And it's not what I'm going to do with the Lone Wolf, right? Like the whole feel of the website, the way we do our product reviews, the gear that I want to make to supplement the brand, the community I want to build with the Lone Wolf Pack is all a lot more, I don't want to say organic and sound cheesy, right? But like, I want to have a much more interactive,
not faceless almost,
user experience. And I want shit to seem honest and real. And like, it's, that whole for riders by riders thing that everybody's doing these days. But I don't want the website to look like a casino slot machine where there's lights and shit flashing all over the place. And I'm not just looking to do ambiguous bike reviews where you don't really know how we feel. And I'm just hoping that the people who are out there right now doing what they're doing are killing it, right? Obviously, like there's people there that are successful and they do great at what they do. And there's a reason that they're still around and kicking, because they do a great job.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like there's a growing voice and a growing number of people, both in the industry and just riders, who want more, right? That they're just seeking a little bit more of a connection to the sport that they love, and not reading comments or looking at wheel size banter or marketing standards. Like, and that's kind of where I hope to come in, is to give place to people that, like, when they want to spend some time and connect, like as hard as that is to sound, like through a computer screen, because ultimately, like, that sucks. Like, I want to connect with people outside on the trails, but if they can go to a website while they're at work and be inspired to go outside by someone else's story, then, like,
perfect.
That's awesome, right? Like, we're super lucky that, Tyler McCall just wrote a rad story for us about his solo trip to Utah.
I saw that. Yeah.
And, I hope that more riders, more industry guys, just fans, submit their stories, and they send me an email like, hey dude, I'm doing this trip, or I just got a new van and my brother's a photographer and we're going to go do this race series, blah, blah, blah. And, if they send their stuff over and some dude's at work and reads that and he's like, man, I don't have any plans this weekend, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah.
Or and it inspires them. That's what I'm hoping to do. And
that's cool. So you're going to aim towards doing quite a lot of, like, user generated content, basically. So people will be able to just submit a cool story to you. Obviously, you got to vet it and have a read through of it, but you'll put it up on the front page and you'll promote it through your channels as well.
100%, man.
Wow.
That's all what that the Lone Wolf Pack is about. I don't want it to seem exclusive. I want everyone to feel like they can be a member of the pack. My big thing is if you're ready, right? If people are ready to join the pack, like, welcome aboard. Send over anything you want, photos, stories, video, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm more than happy to help share stuff. And a lot of people, it seems like, are fighting to get a bigger piece of a pie. And I want to make the pie bigger for everybody so that we all get a bigger piece, right? Like, I'm not about trying to be competitive in that way. Like, I think if we're all growing and we're all happy and doing good and riding bikes, like, the more the merrier. And
I think it's a pretty strange time now. I mean, I've pretty much spoken about this stuff with a lot of the guests I've had on this thing, that it's a strange time for, like, I wouldn't say mountain biking, but just media in general. I mean, there's so much content out there that it's really hard to, like, take it all in. I mean, you'll have a conversation with someone and it's like, oh, did you see that? And you think, fuck, no, I missed that one. How on earth? I've been on 5 websites today. I've been on Pink Bike and Vital, and I didn't miss it. I didn't see it. There's so much content, but it's really hard as well for brands to know where to put money as well. Like, do you put it in an edit, or do you put it in, I don't know, product reviews or Instagram, social media, whatever? It's a really strange time right now, and it'd be interesting to get your take on that, because you're, I guess, inside the industry, that side of the industry.
Oh man, that's
it's tough.
It is kind of tough, and I'm kind of having an inner dialogue with myself of, like, do I want to censor myself and be that politically correct, guy watching my toes, or do I try to stay in line with the whole, goal of my website, which is to be unfiltered? And I think I probably have to go that way, but I won't mention any names.
No.
But a prime example is, right, and this is directly from my experience. Okay, I just came from the print world, working in a magazine, and whether there were other reasons or not, what we were told by countless advertisers over the years as advertising dwindled in the magazine. We don't have a print marketing budget. Print is going down. Print's dead. All of our advertising dollars are going to digital. Mm-hmm. And then further, we're just creating our own creative video edits. Nothing for print, right? And then I talked to an athlete who wants to submit a story or do something on my website, and he's bummed because he's like, man, I really wish Decline was still around, because I would get print bonuses if my photo would go into a magazine or a publication. But if I go online, if like my pictures are on a website, there's nothing, like there's no incentive or bonus.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't help but laugh, because it's like, so an advertiser is telling us that there's no value in print, essentially, and they've got no money to advertise in the print world, yet they're telling their athletes that we'll pay you if you get on print because that's worth something, and we're not going to give you a bonus if you're online.
That's yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know.
And it's like, I don't understand that. It's like, how do you value print for an athlete's placement, but not enough to advertise with it? And it's hard because I'm competing with some really big fish right now. I mean, Pink Bike is huge, and I mean, just the sheer number of visits they have. Like, I mean, I've been doing research, and I've looked at what I'm up against going into this. I didn't want to go in with my eyes closed and hope for the best, but it's at the same time, after putting feelers out, a lot of people in the industry, like I said, want more, and I've been fortunate enough to develop a lot of really awesome relationships with people I consider friends, or I admire from a business perspective, or what have you. But, like I said, I'm not looking to buy a private jet, right? And if I can just have a website that enough people believe in, that I can keep, my bills paid, and I can, pay a few photographers to submit some photos, and I can stoke out some, athletes or writers that have stories, like, I'll be happy.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like, without blowing my own trumpet here too much, but, starting this podcast was, I wouldn't say it was a great idea. That's not what I'm going to say. It's just different. I mean, it's what it seems like people really wanted a mountain bike podcast. I've said it before. I'm 99.9% sure this was the first ever mountain bike podcast, and it's weird how a lot of other companies have jumped on board and done the same thing, which is amazing. There's plenty of space out there for people, but I'm definitely not pissed about it. But it seems to be a growing thing. So my advice would be, if you could, like, start a podcast too, like, just on the side. Seriously, man. Like,
I know. I've
got enough connections. You throw down some cool conversations with people, and it's a good little marketing tool as well, man. And again, not giving away too much of the secrets, but the numbers for this thing are pretty good, and people seem to want more of it. And the cool thing is, like, you're obviously going to gain a listener, but they can go all the way back into the back catalogue and listen to episode 1, for example, and go all the way back through. So it's constantly kind of like a turning wheel and constantly growing.
Yeah, I hear you. But much like your last question is, how many podcasts can there be that people want to listen to? I mean, how many times is someone going to want to listen to Aaron Gwynn or Greg Menard talk? And how many times is that person going to want to talk on a podcast?
Yes,
before it gets stagnant. So it's tough, because anybody who wants to can have a podcast. Anyone who wants to can have a website,
Definitely.
And
that's kind of been my goal with this over the sort of like the first 30 episodes, is just try and mix it up as much as possible. Like, I'm not going to be strict at all with this podcast. It's like, whoever wants to come on and do it can pretty much come on and do it. Obviously there's got to be some limitations, but I can't keep doing them all the time because I'm getting tired. But but yeah, like, that's kind of why recently I've sort of slowed it all down to go faster almost. It's like, before I was just putting episodes out like as and when, just quick, just keep doing it. But now it's like, right, slow it down a little bit, do one a week or one every 2 weeks is plenty. But obviously keep mixing the guests up. Like, it's cool to have industry guys on, then media guy, and then like someone who, I don't know, not a media guy, but like a pro rider and a brand owner or whatever it could be. I think it's cool, and it's fun for me too. Like, just to be able to sit and have conversations with rad people. Like, it's fun. I don't mind it.
I think you kind of touched on the same thing that we're going for, which is, quality over quantity.
Definitely.
And that I think is what's missing right now. And that's probably why your podcast is doing well. And
you know what's fun as well,
hopefully
right?
that'll be why the site does well.
Yeah, hopefully. Definitely. I mean, one thing that which you mentioned before when you were talking is like how you sort of want to do like the media stuff when you were younger and stuff. And I've been thinking about that loads lately. Like when I was younger, I was obsessed with brands and reading through magazines where the brands came from, who distributed it, like really nerdy, weird shit when I was a kid, dude. And I was also super into radio, which I hadn't even realized until my mum told me. She's like, do you remember when you wanted to work in the radio industry? And I was like, shit, I forgot about that. Like, how weird is it now that, I'm involved in a distribution company and have a podcast? It's like, it's weird how it's almost like when you're younger, you just know what you want to do. And then, you might go down a path for a little while, but you seem to always come back to what you initially wanted to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's
that is interesting.
Strange. It's so weird. Like, it's only really recently that I've started thinking about it and been like, wow, yeah. Like, I remember trying to get like an internship at the local radio station and, calling up companies asking for free stickers because I was so interested in distribution. And it's like, it's so weird,
Yeah.
Super geeky, but yeah, it's strange, man. It's strange time.
Full circle, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like super full circle. And I don't know. I kind of wish I'd studied that stuff, like especially the radio stuff, because I have no idea what I'm doing when I started this. Like, not a clue. I just got some friends together and started putting down episodes.
That's it. Well, sometimes it works.
Yeah, I think so. So how important has like social media been to building the Lone Wolf? Because your social media seems to be on point. Like especially your Instagram game is really good. Do you see that as a massive sort of like benefit to the company, and is that like a huge platform for you to use to get people onto the site?
Yes, 100% it is. I mean, it's like kind of a double-edged sword, because I absolutely am like always living on my phone.
Yes.
Trying to stay on top of it. But, on the other hand, for the short amount of time that, this has been running, the growth has been incredible. I mean, I'm super thankful and lucky that we're, on average growing over 1,000 followers a week. And, I've got like a number set in my head that would be a goal by X amount of time. And in order to do that, I'm researching and reading and doing all these things about social media and prime times and hours. And I mean, it's a full-time job in itself.
And it's a full-time job.
Media. It's ridiculous, and it's blown my mind, but it's also kind of fun because it's problem solving in many ways. And, you can directly see the rewards, right? Every time you see that number go up, it's cool because, like, all right, like I'm starting to get the formula of doing stuff. Right. And, it's like you said, there's so many websites out there that until people sort of establish a routine, or I should say reestablish the current routine, they're not going to be going to our site unless I'm posting, or an athlete is posting, or a company is sharing and saying, hey, go to this website and check out this review or story or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And, on those days, I directly see a big spike in traffic. And it's really cool to be able to see how that works and how that happens. And the goal is, right, that we keep doing that enough to where it sort of becomes ingrained in people to go check, but not to the point where we're annoying them by saying like, gosh, all these guys tell me to do is go to their website. Like, like I still want to be an entertainment avenue.
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line. And again, like we were saying before the podcast started, like it's weird with the whole, I'm putting quite a lot of effort into our social media, but sometimes sometimes you have to put your phone down and you have to get away from it. And I think that makes your content better sometimes, because you're not getting fed up of doing it and stuff. I don't know. There's a fine line. There's a very fine line between it constantly been staring at your phone and ignoring your girlfriend and your family.
Oh yeah.
And getting way too wrapped up in numbers. So yeah, I'm constantly battling with that too. Like I look after obviously the podcast one. I do all of the stuff for Hook It as well, which is obviously the distribution side of this. I look after a couple more as well on the side, just for friends and whatnot. So, and then obviously you split that across your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, blog posting, Google Plus. It's an absolute whirlwind of stuff to keep on top of. And I think sometimes you forget how much of a full-time job that is. It's pretty normal for me to come home and be working on social media for 2 or 3 hours every evening after doing a full day's work. But,
Yep.
We're still a relatively small team over here, so you just have to do what you have to do, and, that's pretty much it. So,
Yeah.
But interesting, it's really interesting how it does have a effect, you do see, numbers spike. Same with this, you put an episode out, as soon as you start posting about it, things start, growing and, organically almost. It's crazy. So,
yeah, it's definitely been a useful tool, and
isn't
something
it cool
I'm
that you've
definitely
got a free tool almost?
Yes.
That is the ultimate coolness of this. You can use something which is free, and as long as you keep doing it and you're doing it well, it will have a massive effect on your business. I think that's so cool.
It's definitely it's pretty awesome actually.
Mm-hmm. So what's a regular day at the Lone Wolf look like for you right now?
Oh man, so basically there's 3 of us that are kind of main full timers.
Actually, sorry, that's what confused me, because I looked on the website and I looked at the team and I was like, holy shit, there's 12 of the guys.
Well, so basically myself, and then Sean Light, aka Sour Patch, and then Chili Dog Andrew Villablanca, all 3 of us were at Decline Magazine. And Sean was sort of he was responsible for making the magazine look the way it did. He was our graphic layout arts guy. He's been invaluable in helping the website stories, I guess, look the way they do. Obviously we hired a web guy, but Sean has been kind of maintaining that stuff, the day-to-day posts. And then Andrew is a photographer, video guy, helps write reviews and stuff. So basically, first off, every morning is we'll get on a phone call because they're still down in California, and we'll sort of brainstorm, kind of have a little plan of attack for the day. Chili Dog handles the Facebook page. I maintain the Instagram page, and Sean just does layouts. I mean, we'll get him reviews or content or whatever, and then after we sort of plan what reviews for the week we're going to run, what feature stories, whatever, we'll work on text. It's a balance between writing and then contacting companies, trying to get test product, staying on top of news things. So we're in the know a little bit of what's coming in the future from the people producing new bikes or gear or whatever, and then yeah, man, if I'm lucky, only in the last 2 weeks have I actually been able to get back out and start riding again, I'd say. Pretty much since February, I was in my office, man. My ass has gotten flat. My legs are numb most of the day because I'm just, I'm spending way too many hours sitting here looking at my screen and just trying to, contact companies that, I'd worked with for so long at Decline and let them know, hey, we're still here. We're not gone.
How important has that been then for you, maintaining those connections?
No, it's been absolutely invaluable. And I've been just so very blessed and thankful that, I don't think I've spoken to a company yet who I've told about the new start and they've asked for a test bike back or gear or said, oh, thanks, good luck, but we're not interested. Every single person that I've reached out to has said that they're really excited to see what we put together. They're like, hey, if you're involved, we've got absolute faith it's going to be cool. Keep the test bike you've got. We're excited to see the review, and
awesome.
So that was part of what kind of motivated and inspired me to keep going. In those early weeks when I was like, is this a dumb decision? Are there too many media sites already? And I'm just wasting my time. But, so that's pretty much it, man. We'll chat in the morning, try to get a brainstorm going and spend most of the day in front of the computer trying to make stuff happen and try to secure a little bit of funding if we can here and there, try to create content and go for a quick little ride before the sun goes down if possible.
Try and eat as well somewhere in the day. And yeah.
Now, you know, like I don't want to sound like a meathead because I'm not a big gym guy, but protein shakes have been a great meal substitute for me because I like start getting dizzy and weird in here. Like I don't even drink water anymore. I'm just like,
wow,
holy crap, I got to get up. Like I haven't gone to the bathroom. I haven't eaten. Like I got to go out.
Dude, I feel you. Like I spend the majority of my days driving. At Hookit, I look after like the sales side of things. So I'm on the road 4 or 5 days a week, in and out of bike shops all day, obviously peddling all our products and stuff. And I feel you on that. You know, there's lots of times when I just don't have chance to stop for lunch and I'll just smash a protein drink. I drink a lot of water, so I'm constantly stopping at the bathroom. You know, I take a piss in some pretty strange places throughout the day. Try and avoid schools and stuff like that, but but yeah, it can be pretty tough, like finding time to eat, and you forget that. I think when you work for yourself, like there's no rest for the wicked almost. You just have to keep battling through.
It's definitely been it's been tough, and I kind of jokingly tell everybody when they're like, you know, hey man, like we haven't seen you. Why don't you go and ride and why don't you do this and that? And like, you don't have a job anymore, man. We should see you. And I, you know, my reply is like, man, I work twice as hard now that I don't have a job than I ever did when I had a paycheck. And that's the sad truth, man. I'm a slave to myself, and you know, I'm not even making any money doing it. But
not yet, but it's coming.
Hopefully.
So it sounds like you're into like free ride and the Fest series and stuff like that, but just want to get your take on the last round of the World Cup at Leogang. It's always cool just to get people's take on the races, I think. I know a lot of people that tune into this podcast like to hear about the racing. So it'd be interesting just to get your take on Leogang, the downhill track / BMX track that was Leogang this weekend.
Jeez. Well, it was certainly interesting to see all, you know, whether it was Wynn's track walk interviews, and I saw pretty funny what's his name, Wacky Designs, that little drawing that he did with the iron going over the.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah, that's funny.
That was pretty clever.
Did you see the UK guy Phil Atwill do his practice run on a hardtail?
You know what? I didn't actually see the video, but I heard talk about it, and yeah. So, anyways, despite track, I guess, modifications, it was interesting because some people said, "Oh, it's the same as it's always been," and then other people, you know, were complaining about all the stuff that had changed. So, you know, without being there and seeing it, I guess it certainly looked a different way on the Red Bull TV. And
yes,
and I actually rewatched it again last night, just in case you did ask me some questions. I didn't want to say.
We can't get too deep into it. My race knowledge is terrible sometimes. I've got an awful memory.
It was a really fast track, and you know, I watched it with the lady, and she's not a huge mountain biker, and she was very entertained, which, you know, maybe is the reason that the tracks are changing the way they are. You know, there's definitely rumors that it's being groomed for primetime television, and better, easier coverage by longer, straighter tracks and higher speeds obviously will make it, I think, probably more appealing to some TV viewers that are not mountain bikers.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you in some respects on that, if I'm honest. Yeah, I mean, my girlfriend was sat at the side of me watching it, and we both went up to Fort William. And watching Leogang and watching Fort William were like watching two different sports. And that's pretty much what she said straight away. I mean, my girlfriend isn't really involved in riding at all. She doesn't ride, you know, but straight away she was like, you know, it's the same track for everybody. Isn't it cool that you have like a fast track one weekend and then like a really technical, tough track the weekend after, or vice versa? And I had to kind of agree with her on that. I was like, yeah, you've kind of got a point, you know. A total not novice to the sport, but like she doesn't really understand it. But she was like, it's cool. I mean, look how different this race is. And, you know, if the world champion at the end of the year should be the guy who can ride any track.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the most well-rounded.
Yeah, so I think, you know, for us diehard mountain bikers, you know, it's pretty shit to watch, to be honest with you. You know, just watching people white knuckle down flat straights over huge jumps is, you know, there's only so much of that you can do.
And then hitting a wall ride it's
like
you know, I mean,
like
at the
bobsled.
end of the day, it was racing, and it was still, you know, fairly exciting, I guess. What I really took away from the race was how excited Aaron Gwynn was in his like post-race interview. That to me was really awesome to see. Like you could tell he was doing everything he could to contain himself while he was doing the interview, and the fact that he was that emotional and stoked on winning was pretty rad to see, and like that he was still that pumped on riding and racing. So
I think it's been a tough start to the year for a lot of those guys, you know, especially after the first round, and then so many people crashing out at Fort William, etc. So I think for him to get one in the bag, kind of to carry on what he was, you know, doing last year until Danny kind of stopped him. But
man, that was a bummer for Danny breaking his chain.
Yeah, why is it that track like every year? It must be that first crank out the gate. You know, you're running such a high gear to get up to speed as quick as you can. I don't know, man. Like, it's still so alien to me that, you know, these super expensive bikes can stop working because they get a flat tire or the chain breaks. You know, like it's so alien to me. It's just still
well,
like, figure it out. Like
yeah, I don't know how you could eliminate the flat tire issue.
No,
but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think when the last time there was a Supercross race and the dude left the gate and his chain broke or something.
Yes,
like
it doesn't happen, does it? Like, it's really rare.
Yeah.
Same. I don't know whether Moose tires for mountain bikes obviously don't work because otherwise people would be doing it. I guess there's the Schwalbe, or however you say it, Schwalbe. I can never do that. Procore, which kind of seems to keep some air in there so you can make it at least down the track at a relatively high speed. And then there's other teams which just don't bother, you know, and tires fall off the rim and tubes are flying everywhere or whatever it is, and it's just, I don't know. It's still, like I say, it's still alien to me that these things just ruin races, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, but that is racing.
Sport. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, overall, I don't know. It's one of those races. It's kind of on to the next one, you know, for me. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit better to watch. But again, I kind of liked it that the times were so tight. I think that was pretty cool. Times are tight. You literally sat there like, it's within like a tenth or 2/10, and it's like Formula One racing or some shit.
It's pretty amazing, man, because, you know, it's not like these guys are chasing each other or aware of it. You know, I mean, you're totally by yourself and you've got point A and point B, and it's crazy to think that guys that grew up in completely different areas of the world or on completely different machines can be so close to each other from point A to point B. It's just, it's pretty crazy to think about. And I guess it, in some ways, goes to show that, like, it doesn't really matter what kind of bike you're on. If you're a good rider, like, you could be on all sorts of weird, different design. You're only going to be a couple seconds apart, if that.
Yeah, you're right. So what's your take on the 29er stuff?
Jeez. You know,
it's not a mountain bike podcast or conversation unless you bring up a 29er right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it is.
It's a shame, you know, but it has to happen.
Edition number 29, I guess, right? But
good point.
You know, if I was a privateer, I would be pretty bummed. Although there's not many privateers that are going to crack a top 10 anyhow. They're just there to be there and race, right? Yeah. I don't know, man. It's tough to say because there's arguments on both sides. I think, you know, it is racing. Yeah. And the goal is to be the fastest. And some people think there should be, you know, rules or regulations that level the playing field. other people think that they should just make tracks that don't make 29ers superior by not having such straight freeways. I mean, there's so many things involved, I think, in that debate that it's really hard to pick one clear answer. At the end of the day, it's racing, and you want to be the fastest, and that if that means you use whatever tool you can. It's sort of like, right, when you go to a World Cup and guys were racing enduro 29ers and not DH bikes, like, and they had dropper posts, like that was still a race, even though people bitched about it. Like, they did that because they wanted to win. So,
and skin suits.
Yeah. So, right. And those are now banned. And now, the baggy moto jerseys are so tight and tailored that they're almost skin suits. But
it's definitely going that way by the looks of things. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think, at this point, 29ers are established. They're making the bikes. So if they're fastest, it'll sort itself out, I think.
Yeah. Will you be heading to any races when they get over your side of the world?
To be determined, man.
Yeah.
To be totally honest, with the lack of budgeting that being self-employed has, I don't quite know exactly. I've got to be really careful about where and what I'm going to. Crankworks is definitely on the agenda. And there's, a few other things here and there, but as much as I would love to travel to all sorts of things just to create content and, meet people and get stories, the reality is that there's limited funding to do all those things. So
yeah, for sure.
We'll see. But there's nothing like being at a World Cup, that's for sure.
No, they're pretty cool. I certainly like going to them myself. It was weird. I went up to Fort William, but I was pretty much working on a stand. Actually, we look after an underwear brand called Saks. So I was up there helping out for those guys. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's quite big in America. So I was up there, doing the Saks thing, which was strange because like you're at a World Cup event, but I was kind of like in the expo area quite a lot. But to be honest, we sort of wrapped things up on Sunday afternoon and went and watched racing, but still didn't get the full vibe, like didn't get all the way up the hill or anything like that. Just had to do what we had to do on that weekend, unfortunately. But still good to go to, man. Really good. So good to catch up with people and see people you don't get to see on the day to day,
for sure. Yeah.
Sweet, dude. Well, you want to do some listener questions before we wrap this bad boy up?
Oh boy. Let's see what we got.
We didn't get that many because, like we said before, it's not
because I'm not important.
Well,
no one knows
not
me.
that you're not important. That's definitely not the case. So we got at Guns209. How did you get so handsome?
Yeah, Jason Guns. He's a good buddy of mine.
Oh, is it?
He's a character, isn't he?
You know what I really like is when we do these listener questions and like a bunch of people who know the person just fires off the most random stuff. When we had, the funniest one was Ed Masters. It was fucking hilarious, dude. Like there was literally hundreds of questions to pick through, and they were all the stupidest stuff which only he would get. And I was just like, we just did like a quick fire round of them. It was hilarious. It was so funny.
Yeah, those guys are entertaining to watch, man, for sure.
Yeah. So how did he get so handsome?
I think the powers are held deep in the strands of my beard, and I was blessed.
Bearded men, dude. It's a fashion thing over here too in England.
I guess so.
I'm not blessed. I can't grow one if my life depended on it. I can't grow shit.
Yeah, man. I'm just I'm lucky that it only grows on my head. I'd be bummed if I was like rocking the full man sweater thing, man. That would be a pain.
Yeah, Ollie, my one of the partners at Hook It, we used to call him the Beaver. He's pretty hairy. Oh no, Otter. Sorry, the Otter. He's pretty hairy, dude. All right, next one is at SC_rider. Now you've kind of elaborated on some of this, but we'll go for it anyway. Is transitioning from established media outlet to doing your own thing completely up to you? Difficult, stressful, and scary? Then there's a question mark. And what is the real world expectation for site success, traffic in a crowded digital landscape? Whoa, that was a big one.
That is a big one. Yeah, I guess we did kind of touch on some of those questions, but what was the first one? Was it my own decision?
Is transitioning from established media outlets, doing your own thing, completely up to you? And has it been difficult, stressful, and scary?
100% yes, difficult, scary, and stressful, all those things. Was it my own decision? I guess we kind of discussed. No, it was not. That was kind of happened because of the shutdown of Decline magazine. However, I'm trying to, view it as one of those points where sometimes when people are safe and comfortable, they don't leap out on and take their own risk. And, I'm viewing this as that little push that kind of hopefully nudged me into doing something.
100%. You can tell.
Yeah. So, yes, it definitely has been a stressful and scary journey, and it still is, man. I mean, I still have days or weeks where I feel like I'm not doing well or not, succeeding the way I would like to. And
I think that's totally natural, man. Especially when you've got your own business, you constantly, I don't know, I have it, constantly worrying about things. It never stops. But on the flip side, you need to have these hard times to make you realize the good times when you finally get there.
Yeah, that's hopefully what I keep saying with the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Yeah. You keep focusing on that, and hopefully, by creating unique and different content that is voiced in a different way on a website that I think looks and feels different than anything else out there. Will motivate people to want to come and check it out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, great answer. Next one came from Tom White over on our Facebook. Would you consider a print version of Lone Wolf?
100%.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's, I love print, and I mean, I still have maps when I go on road trips, right? Like, my fiance jokes around and says I'm like the youngest old man ever. So I love print. Obviously coming from a print mag, it still means a lot to me to hold something in your hand. And I think it's a different experience. So we have talked about whether we do like an annual or biannual sort of a thing, but I've definitely got ideas on things that I think would be really bitchin' to have in a print edition, like coffee table book. And we'll see, man. Hopefully I can do something like that if the cards lay out right.
Yeah, I love those things too. Again, like Dirt did one last year.
It was
last year. Yeah, it's amazing. And I kind of like that they do that. There was, oh God, I always forget the name of it. Duncan Philpott's one. Oh man, mind blank.
Yeah.
I think those things are sick though. Really nice coffee table editions. Yeah, for sure, do that.
All right, well.
So we got at TimDH829. Have you got any advice for somebody wanting to work within the mountain bike industry?
Boy, any advice? I would say.
It's a good question because. I wouldn't have any.
There's lots of joking answers, and I feel like everyone I hear says best advice is don't work in the mountain bike industry. But at the same time, I just had the opportunity to leave when I lost my job, and I didn't. I think the best advice would be, you got to be prepared to work hard. You have to be flexible. You got to understand that you're probably not going to make a lot of money, but there's the potential for some major bonuses and benefits in that you get to work in a field in an industry that you believe in and that you love, and is a passion or a hobby. And the fact that you'll get to travel places and ride your bike that you might not have otherwise is pretty rad. But I think you need to be realistic as well and understand that there's a lot of people that want to work in the bike industry. They don't pay you a ton of money,
nope.
And you're going to be working hard for not a lot of money. But having a good attitude, being respectful, networking well, I think are all very important parts, because the bike industry, as large as it is also very tight.
Yes.
And, if you're a polite person and you're respectful and you do your job, whatever it might be, people will remember you, they'll vouch for you, and they'll do anything to get you lined up, whether it's, you're out of work and looking for a new place or whatever it might be. The support and people I had helping me out and the offers, was really inspiring and awesome. And it really shows, how nice the people in the bike industry can be if they're, wanting to say, hey, you need anything, let me know, or let me send some introductory emails out, whatever it might be. So
that's the thing. Don't burn your bridges. Same in life. Don't burn any bridges, because you never know, you might need those people. I mean, you're a prime example, right? Like, you've got good connections in the industry, and you've kept them up because of, no doubt, being a good dude. So,
yeah, certainly helps, man.
All right, next one, last one. At Ride.5, who are your major media influencers?
Major media influences. Let's see. Well, backtracking before, where I was, the early days of Decline magazine and Dirt magazine were huge. When I was, the young little kid, I was always looking at stuff. I was that guy who had pictures cut out of magazines and taped on my wall, right? Like, I had stuff all over. Which, by the way, what do kids do these days? I don't.
They stick iPads on the wall.
I'm old, right? And that's why I always thought, God, there's got to be magazines, because do kids really print out screenshots on their wall?
They just stare at a phone. That's pretty. I think they have a wallpaper on the phone or laptop instead of on the walls in the bedrooms. Yeah. It's strange, isn't it? Times change now. It's scary.
I guess we must be getting old. But anyways, man, early Dirt and Decline were definitely big inspirations for what I thought was cool. I really liked videos. I was a video guy. I had a freaking collection of VHS tapes that I watched over and over again. And early Crusty Demons of Dirt stuff was rad. Uh-huh. The New World Disorder, Cranked early videos. And then obviously, like I said earlier, the Collective stuff, that was rad. And then I think the Doonies videos I expressed earlier was a pretty big influence. The Bigger Slice of British Pie videos were huge for maintaining my stoke on, what I want to do in the direction. Yeah. I really dig the Rodders Journal, which is a hot rod magazine.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's, I'm into old custom cars and hot rods and motorcycles and stuff. So I kind of really like that mag, and it's a very nice kind of quarterly, coffee table book magazine, essentially. And it's got so much cool old history of the hot rod scene and, stuff from the Bonneville Salt Flats to El Mirage time trials, whatever. But the presentation is incredible and I love it. Okay. And that would be a big inspiration if we went to a print type thing. Yeah, man.
I just watched the new Chasing the Storm 2, which is Twitch's new movie.
Oh, yeah.
I bought it at the weekend on iTunes, and it's pretty sick. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really good. It's just like you said, it's almost like Doonies, just the whole way through, just free ride. Yeah, just traveling with friends, just a fun thing to watch. I'd highly recommend it. It's super good.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Well, last but not least, what we do, I don't know if you've heard before, but we have the guest prior to you set a question for you, but obviously he didn't know it was going to be you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Chinese whispers. It took Steve a little while to think of this. So the person who set the question was Steve Jones, editor of Dirt Magazine, which is pretty cool. Little secret here, I had to edit quite a lot of this out because he couldn't think of a question for 5 minutes. So, and the one before, I couldn't ask Steve because it was Ed Masters' question, which was basically fuck, marry, kill the whole of the women's top 10. So I didn't want to ask him that. So we've had to start again because, there's not many people you can ask that who work in the industry that can answer it without getting some shit. So, all right. So basically, Steve asked the question, and then what we do is we get you to set a question for the next guest, which will be our 30th episode, and it's a very big one too.
Yeah,
but
I really like that, by the way, man. That's cool. I was not aware that you did that.
Yeah, it's different. It's just something.
It was pretty neat.
Yeah, we started it off. God, I can't remember how many episodes ago. It was the first person who did it with who was it? Kathy Sessler. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So Steve's question: how technical should World Cup tracks be?
How technical? I think they should be. Boy, I think it should vary, but they should be some of the most technical tracks that people can ride in my overall.
Yeah.
Because these are the most elite riders in the world, right?
Yep.
So, in order for them to truly challenge themselves and the machines that they're in many ways testing for development for us regular consumers, they should vary in types of difficulty, but should be of the utmost challenging terrain that can be ridden on a bike.
For sure. No, I agree wholeheartedly with that. Definitely. And that kind of makes me think what I said about Leogang was probably a little dumb. But, you know what I mean? Like, how much did that really test those bikes? As far as rolling capacity, pretty good. But actual, suspension and building quality and stuff like that, like probably not that much. I don't know. Yeah, interesting answer. So it's up to you now. Your turn to set a question for episode number 30's guest. And I'm not going to tell you who it is.
All right. Next question. What would I ask somebody? If you could change one thing about the mountain bike industry, what would it be?
Awesome. I like that. Sorry, I'm just writing it down because I sometimes forget. All right, that's excellent. Like the person who it is as well, that fits really good. All right.
That's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. All right, work towards wrapping this thing up. I want to say a huge thank you for doing this. It's cool to sit down and chat and get to know you as well. It's been fun.
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much.
No, man. So where can people find more? Just hit us with all your links and all that sort of good stuff, or anything you want to promote, just fire it out.
All right. So, website and Instagram is thelomewolf.com. Instagram, same thing, The Lome Wolf. Any chance, I guess, you post a cool picture, you want to join the Wolf Pack, use the hashtag Lome Wolf Pack. We're always looking to add. If you got a cool story, if you're going on a trip or built a custom van, built some weird shit, whatever it might be, if you want to share it, send an email. Mm-hmm. We're all about growing the community and getting people involved and giving them a place to share beyond their personal Instagram page. So let's, I'd be stoked to have people on board and help and contribute and buy some awesome custom made mud guards that we got on there. I'm almost out, by the way. I need to place another order with you.
No problem. We'll do that off there.
Yeah, so,
that's cool, dude.
Yeah.
I'm glad those things went well for you. That's a program which we started a couple of years ago, and it is pretty much bread and butter for us, if I'm honest with you. We do a hell of a lot of bike brands, events, bike shops around the UK, pretty much every bike shop in the UK.
Killer, man. They're very nice quality. I get a lot of compliments. Yeah. And
made in Sheffield too, dude.
That's awesome, man. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have found someone here in the States to make them, but I just couldn't do it. So,
That's good. No problem at all, mate. Anytime. We have one here as well, which got left over because we always have, however many you order, we always get two more. One goes in our office and one goes on our wall of fame. So we're probably going to give one away as well, if that's all right, just to help promote the episode and
absolutely, man. That'd be sweet. I'd be stoked.
Cool. All right, so look out for that on our social media, guys. Again, I want to say a huge thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Great to hear, and I want to wish you all the best with the Lone Wolf. I love it. Everyone out there, go check it out. Make sure you comment, tell Drew that you listen to the podcast and all that sort of good stuff. We'll hopefully catch up again soon and let's see how things are going in I don't know, 6, 7 months, a year, whatever. Just keep in touch.
Hopefully, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Hopefully we'll have some bikes beneath us when we do.
Yes. That's a good idea. I'm coming to Canada. America. Sweet, dude. All right. Have a great evening, day, and I'll catch up with you soon.
All right, you too, bud.
Peace, man. Bye-bye. And there we go, folks. Episode number 29 with Drew Roday of thelonewolf.com is in the bag. An awesome conversation. I really enjoyed getting to know Drew a little bit better and finding out more about the Lone Wolf. If you have enjoyed this episode, please let us know. Head to iTunes, leave a review. Obviously, you'd leave a 5-star review. That really helps if you can write something too. Try and make it as funny as possible because it's great to have a read through and hear what people think. Reach out on social media too, man. If you have enjoyed the episode again, please let us know, let Drew know, and head over. Give The Lone Wolf a follow on Instagram and Facebook and check out the website. It's much appreciated. It really, really helps the podcast grow as well if you reach out, let us know, and it's great to hear from you. If you have got any questions, any concerns, any guest ideas, or you want to put yourself forward even, you drop me an email. It's Davey, D-A-V-I, at hookit, H-O-O-K-I-T, products.co.uk. It'd be great to hear from you. Don't forget to follow us too, at The Hookit Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, at Hookit Products on Twitter. If you want to find some of the old episodes, they're all on iTunes or SoundCloud or on our website, which is hookitproducts.co.uk, but that's HKT, hktpodcast.co.uk. That's a wrap. So, the next episode number 30. Oh shit. I'm so stoked to bring you this episode. It's going to be a bunch of fun. I really can't wait. So we'll see you on the flip side at episode number 30 for the birthday episode. Yes, rock and roll. Have a great week, guys. Thanks again for listening in. Enjoy. Don't forget, follow the sponsors too. 35 Bikes, Sax Underwear, rock and roll. Peace out.